The section I will read is the killing of a bear, and sort of an interesting thing for me to write because I don't eat animals. To write it convincingly, you have to feel it, you have to be there. So it's as if you were there doing it in a way, and that's the hard thing. If it's something that you don't believe in, but you know that it has to be part of the story. So the bears had grown fat over the summer. They feasted on the same diet Two Feathers was eating: berries, fish, roots, and seeds. But the bears showed no waning of appetite. The more mature among them knew only too well what a winter would bring, what being without food would do to their bodies, and how thin they would be when they emerged from their caves in the spring. And so they kept continually on the move in the wooded hills, rooting through every corner to taste the fruits of the season of plenty. The bears did not seem alarmed when Two Feathers appeared among them. So attuned to the woods was he did not bring into their world any sounds, sights, smells, or movements that might disturb them. He did, in fact, act as bear-like as possible. Without challenging their ownership of the area, he kept a respectable distance until they got used to him enough to ignore him. And all the while he prayed to the great bear spirit. He asked for permission to kill an old bear. He explained why he needed the coat and promised to honor the bear by making a neck piece out of its claws and wearing it on ceremonial occasions. Two Feathers wanted the largest coat he could find. He also wanted to make bear fur leggings. With such clothes, he would be able to sit comfortably in his den in the wintertime. He would sleep with warmth and not shiver. He also asked for the strength and swiftness to kill the bear, but not for the courage. The courage he promised to provide himself. He knew that the great bear spirit would not take him seriously if he came asking for courage. It was a very long prayer that went on for days. Two Feathers wanted to impress the spirit with his sincerity. But killing a bear was no small feat. Typically, warriors killed a bear together, not alone. Two Feathers crafted 10 strong arrows with heavy stone tips. These were short-range arrows designed to sink deeply into the bear. If he managed to get 5 of them into the bear, he would do well. Then he fashioned a long spear, not for throwing, but for stabbing. The arrows would wound and enrage the bear, but not kill it, at least not right away. Only the spear into the bear's heart would kill it before the bear killed him. An old bear would be slower than a young bear, but smarter, and that made it more dangerous. It took several days to choose the right bear. When he saw it, he knew right away. So did the bear. It returned Two Feathers' look with a stare of profound resignation. It didn't run from him, though it looked like it would have liked to. Instead, it tried to scare him away with a show of strength. It stood tall on its hind legs and scratched at the trees to indicate its impressive height. It growled low and deep and as frighteningly as possible. It grabbed hold of fallen logs with its claws and tossed them around like they were dry leaves. None of this intimidated Two Feathers. He stayed around as if they had made a sacred pact, which they had in a way, because the bear had also communicated in its first frightened glance at him that it was old and tired and ready to leave this world for the pleasures of the next. Nevertheless, its dignity required it to go out with an impressive display of strength. When Two Feathers finished his preparations and prayers, he spoke to the bear from across the clearing. He offered his most sincere apology and thanked the bear for its great generosity. He told it he was proud to fight such a powerful bear. It would be sad before and after the killing, he said, for both of them, but not during the fighting. During the fighting, everything was courage. The first arrow struck the bear at the top of the shoulder and pierced the muscle. The bear flinched, as if stung by a bee, then spun around in great anger. Before it could charge, a second arrow struck close to the same spot, deeply wounding the shoulder. Now the bear felt panic and rage. It began to run towards Two Feathers. Two Feathers stood his ground and let a third arrow fly, but the wily bear ducked beneath it and the arrow only grazed its head. The bear was dangerously close. Two Feathers let a fourth arrow fly, and it sank into the bear's neck. without showing any effect. Two Feathers started to run, then turned and let one more arrow fly, piercing the shoulder again. This time the shoulder collapsed, and the bear rolled into a somersault. It rose to its feet, breathing heavily, and moaned. Two Feathers sank another arrow into its neck, this time right under the jaw. The bear twisted its head from side to side and tried to pull the arrow free with its claws. Two Feathers ran to the side to get a better shot. A seventh arrow slipped through the fur on top of the bear's head. The bear stared at him, panting heavily, wanting it to be over. It charged again, but it was a desperate charge, without conviction. Two Feathers aimed carefully and let his eighth arrow fly. The arrow went deeply into the other shoulder, and the bear went down again. Two Feathers came closer and aimed once more for the neck. The arrow disappeared into the fur, and the bear began to choke on its own blood. The end was near. Out of respect, Two Feathers tried to kill the bear as quickly as he could, but it wasn't easy. He approached with a spear, but the bear kept spinning around, preventing him from getting a shot at its heart. He needed the spear to pierce the heart, otherwise the bear would die very slowly, which was unkind. He tried to stir the bear by sinking one more arrow into its shoulder, but the bear only winced in pain and acceptance of its coming death. Two Feathers couldn't get closer. Standing, facing the bear, feeling that he owed it a quicker death than this, Two Feathers suddenly ran in and stabbed at it with the spear, but the bear showed the wisdom of its years and turned so that the spear missed it entirely. Suddenly the situation turned very dangerous for Two Feathers. He was too close. He had no arrows left. He could not outrun even a wounded bear. With a powerful burst of energy, the bear sprang at him. Two Feathers could only draw his knife and strike for the heart as the bear knocked him to the ground. His knife struck the heart on the second stabbing, but not before the bear mauled him with its claws and teeth. The teeth were not the problem. The arrows in the bear's throat prevented it from causing Two Feathers much harm that way, but its claws dug deeply into his chest. If he had not struck the heart with the knife, the bear would have killed him before it died. But the bear died first. Two Feathers felt its last breath leave, and the bear lies still. He crawled out and examined his wounds. The gashes were deep, and he was bleeding a lot, but he would survive. He would have scars, but would wear them with honor in memory of the bear.